But here's Rand Paul talking about regime change, which is pretty stunning because the way that debate started, you would think that this debate was being held in an underground bunker and it was secretly being disseminated to everybody, like, The Man in the High Castle or whatever that show is, where like nobody's supposed to know we're having this debate because we're under such siege. Wolverines.
Was getting rid of Saddam Hussein a pretty good deal?
These are the fundamental questions of our time, these foreign policy questions, whether or not regime change is a good idea or a bad idea. I don't think because I think the regime change was a bad idea, it means that Hussein was necessarily a good idea. There's often variations of evil on both sides of the war. What we have to decide is whether or not regime change is a good idea. It's what the neoconservatives have wanted. It's what the vast majority of those on the stage want. They still want regime change. They want it in Syria. They wanted it in Iraq. They wanted it in Libya. It has not worked. Out of regime change, you get chaos. From the chaos, you've seen repeatedly the rise of radical Islam. So we get this profession of, oh my goodness, they want to do something about terrorism, and yet they're the problem because they allow terrorism to arise out of that chaos.
Thank you, Senator.
And that got, a good response. I mean, don't go by too much what you hear in these crowds. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is that the crowds tend to be very forum specific. Venetian Hotel is owned by Sheldon Adelson. I think also the Republican establishment probably made sure that they got the type of crowd they wanted. If you remember in California when they had that crowd out there, Carly Fiorina seemed like everybody loved what she was saying. And then you realize, oh, she's in California. Literally everyone in that room was probably made up the entire amount of people who voted for her in her losing bid for Senate. And so you got to take that with a grain of salt. But it's good to hear that on a Republican debate stage. And let's be honest, between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and Rand Paul, even if he's bringing in 3 points, 4 points, the majority of those three people combined control the majority of people, at least in terms of the polling right now in the Republican